Hey, what's going on, YouTube? So today we're talking Yun-Ming. In today's video, we're going to go over his skills, talk through what he does. We'll talk through pairings, hero pairings, as well as good artifacts and pets to use with him. And finally, we'll go over some talent builds to use, in particular based on who you have him paired with. So sit back, relax, and let's discuss Mu's grandfather. Okay, so let's talk through Yun-Ming's skills here. And Yun-Ming's skills actually make him pretty atypical for Call of Dragons heroes. In particular, because his first skill is a passive skill, Yun-Ming does not have a rage cycle. All right. So what his first skill, Premonition, does is basically every other second, he's going to do skill damage to his target and a couple nearby enemy legions close to his target as well, right? And if you have this maxed out at skill damage 300, that doesn't seem amazing, but keep in mind this is going off every other second, so you figure 4 to 5 times per rage cycle. And he has some other skills that'll buff this later on, so it actually is pretty good. A couple quick things here, very quickly, just a reminder, diffuse damage. This basically means if you hit multiple targets, the damage per target goes down. So if you hit just one target, you hit it 100%. But if you hit it 2 targets, they both take damage, but at 15% less. And if you hit it 3 targets, which is the maximum that he can hit with Premonition, they all take 30% less damage, all right? You still want to hit multiple targets. You're still doing more damage overall. It just each individual target will take slightly less. All right, the second thing here, and I just want to clarify the record because I've heard it said incorrectly a couple times. And what I've heard is people say, hey, Yun-Ming doesn't do skill damage. That is 100% wrong. Yun-Ming does a ton of skill damage. What he doesn't do is a rage skill damage. That'll become very important when we talk through his talent build later on, okay? So Premonition, doing passive skill damage every other second to multiple targets. Second skill, I don't know why they have this language in here. I guess if you only have his first skill unlocked, Premonition's not going to hit that extra target, but you don't need to level this up to get the extra target in here, and it's already baked into when you see the 2 to 3 here. Okay. The more important thing here is whenever you use Premonition, which is literally every normal attack, you've got a 50% chance to gain a defense buff, maximum of 10%, and you can get up to 3 stacks. So this is a pretty good buff, and Yun-Ming also has some good buff mechanics that we'll talk about later on. Third skill, very straightforward. He just gets a flat skill damage bonus and a flat HP bonus, 20% and 15% when you max them out. Nothing complicated here. This applies all the time. The one thing to note is a 20% skill damage bonus. That is pretty nice, particularly for Yun-Ming. The fourth skill is a bit more complicated here. Okay, so whenever Premonition does damage, it's got a 50% chance to do additional damage. So that Premonition's going to do 300, assuming you have it maxed out anyway. And then you've got a 50% chance to do an additional 125 skill damage to your target and anything else it's hitting, right? In addition to that, you can get that 125 damage factor to increase based on the number of buffs you have, and it can go all the way up to 625 if you have it maxed out. Now, the one thing about this is this can only trigger once every 5 seconds. So basically every other second, he's going to do skill damage to a bunch of legions. And then, about twice a rage cycle, he's going to do a lot of extra skill damage. Assuming you've got a lot of buffs, he can do up to 625 to all those legions. So that actually is pretty powerful. We're already getting a good number of buffs from Astrologer's Blessing here. So he can power this to a decent amount all by himself. His Awaken skill, I like it. And the reason I like it is I love it when Awaken skills do something new, unique, and they just don't make your rage skill better. So what does his Awaken skill do? Okay, so for 10 seconds, every 30 seconds, he gets another buff. And when he gets that buff, he gets 15% magic attack. Okay. Premonition hits those 3 legions now. That's real good. And then the 2 things here, Astrologer's Blessing, this 50% chance becomes 100%. And then the same thing with Inescapable Fate, that 50% becomes 100%. Now, Inescapable Fate, it still has that condition. It can only trigger once every 5 seconds. So, okay. But when you have this buffing literally 100% of the time, you're going to get those buffs. It's basically only up 1/3 of the time. Now, the good news is when you start battle, this, assuming you haven't been in battle for a little bit, this will trigger immediately. So you'll get this powerful buff once you've got this guy awakened. Very strong awakening skill. I like it a lot. Okay, as we went through Yun-Ming's skills, really 3 things should have jumped out at you. First, he does a lot of skill damage. Second, he likes buffs And third, he has no rage mechanic, right? So we're looking to pair him with someone that's also going to boost skill damage, hopefully gives us some buffs, but isn't like a rage generation machine, right? Because Yun-Ming can take no advantage of rage, so we don't want to waste like a rage generation hero with him, right? So Atheist wouldn't be a good choice anyway, but like Atheist's second skill here, which generates rage, that would be extra bad with Yun-Ming. Okay, so who should we pair with this guy with? Well, it's going to come as no surprise that the other new hero, Gromara. Why is Gromara? Gromara exists to pair with Yun-Ming. I think we finally answered the question here, okay? Then the reason Gromara is good with Yun-Ming is she does she can boost skill damage by a ton. As we go through her skills here, her base skill gives a 10% bonus to skill damage, just generally, and if you awaken her, it gets all the way up to 25%. And the really awesome thing about this combination is, as you read Gromara's rage skill here, like let's say you have her awakened, it gives you that 25% bonus to hero skill damage until you cast another rage skill. Okay, now if you have them together, it actually doesn't matter who's the primary and who's the deputy. Gromara is going to cast her, like the first time in battle, Gromara is going to cast her rage skill. She doesn't get the bonus to this because it hasn't triggered yet, right? But then there's no one else to follow up with another rage skill. So that entire time until she casts her rage skill again, you're getting that 25% bonus. And then when she casts her rage skill again, she gets the bonus, she clears it, and then she triggers it again, right? So basically, once Gromara casts her rage skill the first time in combat, you'll have this 25% bonus the entire time, and all of Yun-Ming's like passive, non-rage skill damage is going to take advantage of it. That's awesome. The other great thing about Gromara is her fourth skill. This pairs extremely well with Yun-Ming. Not only do you get a flat skill damage boost, another 15% on top, okay, awesome, but every time you do magic skill damage, you've got a chance to increase your Legion's magic attack by 5%, and that can stack up to 5 times. Now, like a normal hero, let's say you have her paired with, I don't know, Bertrand. Bertrand's going to trigger this once a rage cycle. Yun-Ming's going to trigger this like a ton of times the rage cycle. Yun-Ming's the way to get this magic attack boost up very quickly, all right? Now, the skills between Yun-Ming and Gromara, they synergize amazingly. The thing that doesn't synergize them very well is their talent build. We'll go into greater depth of that later on, but as you build out the talents, you're in this constant push-pull. Gromara loves rage. Yun-Ming doesn't care anything about rage, and there are a lot of talents that either give you rage or depend on you using rage skills. And so the talent build with these two is actually a little awkward, right? We love the skill synergy. We don't like the talent synergy. Now, the other, pair that I really want to try with Yun-Ming is the other hero that works a lot like him. And of course, that's Tohar, who also doesn't have a rage skill and also does passive magic damage. These two synergize very well together. Their skills work pretty well, not quite as good as Gromara. So if you look at Tohar's skills, right, he's got the Garriskin skill, that doesn't matter. But Tohar's third skill here, that gives a 30% flat hero skill damage boost, awesome. His fourth skill, when Tohar gets done with his channel, he gets Unyielding and Shelter. That's not particularly great for Yun-Ming, but what it is great for is that they're buffs that he gets routinely, so he's going to help Yun-Ming's buff mechanic. And finally, his Awaken skill hits both of those buttons, right? When he finishes his channeling, he gets 35% attack. That's good in and of itself. And Keen, that's another buff, right? So I think Tohar and Yun-Ming are a great pair, and I am going to try them together just to see how they work. The other hero that I think is really interesting here is Bertrand. And the reason is Bertrand's second skill here. Whenever you do hero skill damage, Bert here gets a stack of golden marks, and then each stack of golden marks increases hero skill damage. He clears them when he casts his rage skill, doing extra damage depending on the number of stacks you have. It kind of works like Gromara. The way the pairing would work is Yun-Ming would give you these marks very quickly, and Yun-Ming himself is not going to clear these stacks. And so as long as you have them up, you're going to get that, 30% hero skill damage boost. That's pretty good. I don't think Bert is as good as either Tohar or Gromara. It is an interesting combination. It is something I want to try out. Other than those three, right, the other magic heroes should be fine with Yun-Ming. I just don't see any particular synergy. And I do think they are inferior choices to either Gromara or Tohar or Bert. The last pair I want to talk about is sort of the meme pair here, right? You have the granddaughter and the grandfather paired together. Can be fun. I don't think it's a good pairing. Mu is really about healing and defense, which is not Yun-Ming's game plan, right? Yun-Ming is really about skill damage. Now, Mu does give you a lot of buffs, so that's good, but she does nothing for skill damage, and her toolset really wants her to maximize the rage cycle, and of course, Yun-Ming doesn't care about the rage cycle at all. So, like, this pairing would do fine, it's just going to be inferior to most of your other magic pairings. Okay, what about artifacts? Well, no big surprise, the new artifact works extraordinarily well with Yun-Ming. Dragon's Fate here. Like, this is generically good for basically any magic hero, but it is super good for Yun-Ming. And the reason Dragon's Fate is so good for Yun-Ming is the additional fact here. Okay, so the way it works is anytime you launch a normal attack, you have a good chance to do extra magic damage. This percentage goes up as you level up. My Dragon's Fate's only level 2 right now. And basically this triggers anytime you do hero skill damage. Okay, every like magic hero is basically going to do magic skill damage, but this can trigger once every 2 seconds, and really only Yun-Ming or Tohar is going to do magic skill damage at a frequency that's going to be able to take full advantage of this, right? It works great for him. If you have it, you got to put him with Yun-Ming. If you don't have the new artifact, what should you go with? Well, the answer is really just sort of any generic magic artifact is going to work fine. Breath of Gargantus or Phoenix Eye are your obvious answers. If you don't have those, Tear of Arbonne is okay. Wouldn't be my choice, but if you have nothing else, right? Things like Mirage Orb or Infernal Flame, those are like fine with him, but those are obviously better with the heroes they're designed for. And so I would not recommend breaking them up. Like if you have your Mirage Orb with Bert, keep it with Bert. And, if you don't have Dragon's Fate, give Yun-Ming Phoenix Eye or something. Okay, what about pets for Yun-Ming? Look, obviously the Flaming Manticore is custom made for him. He's one of, really him and Tohar are the only heroes that can, maximize out this buff mechanic all by themselves. It's great for them. And the thing I like about the Flaming Manticore versus, for example, the Sapphire is the Flaming Manticore, you don't need to perfect it to really make it, shine, right? The Sapphire, okay, the Sapphire's top end DPS is still higher, provided you've got that 310 Spirit and the Amber skill. The Flaming Manticore doesn't have any sort of requirements, right? Like, obviously getting the stats up makes it better, getting the Amber skill makes it better, but if you don't have those things, it's not like it falls off a cliff. It's a marginal decrease. So it's just easier to build this thing out. It's also going to do more single target DPS than the Sapphire. Okay, having said that, look, the Sapphire is still a great choice. In an AoE environment, even with Yun-Ming, it will do slightly more damage provided you have it built out. You don't want to do either of those two things. Look, the Sand Lizard works with everyone. There's no particular synergy between the Sand Lizard and Yun-Ming, but hey, it's a cheap pet, it's easy to build, and it'll function just fine. Okay, let's talk talent trees here. And the thing to understand right at the start here is that when I build magic marches, I standardize their movement speed at either 21 or 22%. But the thing with standardizing movement speed is, like, you don't have to do that. It's a matter of personal preference. If you want to choose a different movement speed, that's fine. And if you don't want to standardize movement speed at all, that's perfectly acceptable. It all depends on how you want to play. So obviously, as I build these out, the points I put into movement speed talents, if you're not going to do that, adjust them as you want. Okay, the second thing is I'm going to give you 2 talent trees. And the reason I'm going to do that is the talent tree is going to differ based on who you pair them with. If you pair them with like your standard Gromara, a lot of these talents will sort of be like half useful, right? Head held high does nothing for Yun-Ming, but Gromara loves it, so it might be the best choice on a particular level. On the other hand, if you pair him with Tohar, which is something I want to try, this would be useless, right? And so the build's going to vary substantially depending on whether you pair him with like Tohar, another hero that has no rage skill, or your traditional Gromara rage skill hero, okay? And that's what I'm going to start with. The first talent build is a traditional skill build, and it's for a pair with someone like Gromara or Bert or someone like that. Okay, so start out, no choice here. I like the movement speed. Obviously, that's up to you. This is the best talent here. Ironically, the Mighty Power, the skill you have to take, gives him a 10% chance to gain extra rage, which is ironic because he doesn't care at all about rage. And there's no choice. You have to take this. Oh, well, it is what it is. Okay. I love the skill tree. We're going to start there. No choice here. Second level, I definitely want the hero skill damage. That's the number one thing I'm prioritizing with Yun-Ming. Every chance I have to get hero skill damage, let's grab it. Okay, this next level is sort of like our first big choice here. Do we want less normal attack damage, protect you in case you get hit by archers, or do we want more counterattack, right? You do more counterattack anytime you get hit. Or do you generate extra rage? Kind of only half useful with Yun-Ming, but I still think it is the best choice. I'm not trying to get hit by anyone. I'm trying to do the attacking. And so extra rage is useful for his deputy, in this case, Gromara. Okay, the next level, anytime I cast a rage skill, I'm literally never going to do that. So boiling blood is useless. So this Spirits of Rage, it's again half useful, but half useful is better than 0% useful. So we're going Spirits of Rage. Okay, the next level, this I don't like concentration. Like I said, defense is not the plan. I want to do damage. Unquenchable Will is actually pretty good. HP Bypass is a useful stat, but I can't get away from the detached. I trade off 4% normal attack reduction, okay, for an 8% skill damage boost. Awesome, I love that. Okay, the next level I don't particularly love. I can take less hero skill damage, or I can get more healing and shields. I don't do any of that, so this is a no. Or I can get some additional hero skill crit. Now, you might think I'd love this. The problem is this is just not that impressive. You get a 10% chance with a normal attack to increase your hero skill crit by 10% for 5 seconds. Okay, reminder, what's your base hero skill crit rate? It's 0%. So this gives you a 10% chance to get 10%. But it still is the best choice in this level, so I'm going with that, right? But here's the bottom line. Hero skill crit, you know, you do take it here, but it's not amazing, right? That plays into the next level, Raging Tide, which would allow me to do a bit of hero skill crit damage, 15%. Remember, the base here is 150, so this would increase it to 165. That would be fine if I had a better than a 10% chance at most. I much prefer Steady Hands, which gives me a chance every time I get a buff effect to get 10% flat damage for my hero skill damage. That's really good, in particular, since Yun-Ming's doing a lot of buffs. I think this is the obvious choice here. The bottom choice here is every time I get a hit with a normal attack, I can get rage. I'm trying not to get hit with normal attacks. And if I am, I'm probably dead pretty soon anyway, right? Okay. The end of tree talents are not impressive for Yun-Ming. He can get a bonus to rage skill, so he doesn't do a rage skill. So if I have him with Gromara, that means once a rage cycle, I get an additional damage factor of 60. I mean, it's not nothing, but her damage factor is 2,000. So for an end of talent tree, this is pretty unimpressive. The other choice is I can get a stacking buff to my hero skill damage every time I cast a rage skill, starting at 0.5%, theoretically getting up to 8%. With this pair, this is super slow, right? Because I'm going to have to go through 16 rage cycles to max this out. I get bonuses along the way. I'm not impressed with this, but I do think this is the better option because that hero skill damage, that applies to all my hero skill damage, whereas Thirst for Blood only applies, in this case, to the Gromara rage skill, so I like this one better. Okay, so now I'm done with that tree. I'm going to go with a magic tree. The PvP tree is really good, but the reason I'm going magic tree is I need the extra movement speed, because in the magic tree, this will give me 15%, and by maxing that out, I get a total of 21%, and I've hit my movement speed goal, all right? The third level is pretty obvious. I want more hero skill damage. Let's go. And in case you're wondering, these two do stack together. You can get them both, and they'll both work. Okay, so down here, I can get a chance to do additional targets every time I cast a rage skill. Literally worthless with this march. Yun-Ming does not cast a rage skill, so this doesn't do anything for him. And Gromara's rage skill only hits one target, so this doesn't do anything for her. So that's an easy no. And the other thing here is Magic Maelstrom. It actually works very well with this march. Now, it is based on rage skills like the others, but it can only be triggered once every 30 seconds. So Gromara is going to trigger it to the maximum effect. So even though you only got one rage skill in this march, Magic Maelstrom still does work to the maximum effect. Okay, I got one talent point left. It's not a big deal where I put it. You could put in infantry counterattacks. I think that's fine. I'm actually going to put in HP bypass because for the most part, I'm trying not to attack infantry with this march. I'm trying to attack enemy ranged legions or cav when they come into range. You should generally try and leave the infantry for your archers, but obviously sometimes you're going to hit them. But I still recommend Unquenchable Will here. Okay, second talent build, and this talent build assumes you're pairing Yun-Ming with Tohar, and the major change here is you have no rage cycle at all. And so any talent with a rage cycle, we're just going to avoid completely, provided that we can help it. Okay, we start the same. I still want to hit my movement speed goal, so this is unchanged. And then I'm still starting the skill tree because even though I have no rage skills, I am doing a lot of skill damage, and I want to boost that as much as possible. All right, so this is easy. Second level, no choice here. I definitely want the skill damage. Third level, head held high now does nothing for me. And so it is a choice between generic archer protection or just more counterattack in general. I think the counterattack is better, but this is kind of an uninspiring choice. Okay, now this is tragic. You can either do Boiling Blood, which does nothing, or Spirit of Rage, which does nothing. So it literally does not matter. They're both useless. Take whatever you want. Okay, once again, 8% hero skill damage. I love it. Let's grab that. Okay, the next level, we'll take Focused for a little hero skill crit bonus. Okay, whatever. But I love Steady Hands. I'm only taking this to 4 right now, and I'll talk about that in a second. The end of talent tree here, both rely on rage skills going off. So these are both useless to me, and I'm not going to take it. With the rest of my talents, I'm going up the PvP tree. The reason I love the PvP tree is the third level here, Fury Flame, caps out at a 5% hero skill damage bonus. If you compare that to something like Intimidation, where you only get 4%, this is actually just better. Right, same thing with the Magic Tree, you have Intimidation there as well. I want the 5% from Fury Flame. Okay, this level, Army of Valor is really slow, but it is the best option here. And then I have 3 points over. I'm putting 2 into overall march speed. With 4% plus 10% plus 6%, I'm now at 20%. Like I said, I like to hit 21 or 22. The problem is I'm leaving behind 2% hero skill damage here. And so I'm going to violate my rules and only have a 20% march speed bonus and put my last point into Steady Hands. Okay, like I said, these skills are literally useless with this pairing. Why did I not go on the Magic Tree? I've already told you why Fury Flame is better. The other thing is both of these skills, they're useless with this march. So going to the middle of the Magic Tree here, I unlock 2 skills which are useless to me. Whereas at least Army of Valor, while not amazing, is something I can use. And that's why with this march, I go up the PvP tree. I'm slightly 1% slower than I want to be, but I guess I'm okay with that. Okay, so that's all I've got on Yun-Ming. So Great Heights just ended for our server, and I thought I owe you guys an update. Obviously, I got the city skin. I ended up placing 5th. There was less pushing during this event than I anticipated. Like I said, I'm fortunate to be in a cluster of servers where there's not too many high-power Krakens pushing these things. You can see the highest power pusher only went 40 million. And we actually had someone sneak in to get the skin at a little, 22.8 million, which honestly I think is a pretty big bargain for this city skin. So I finished, 5th. That means I automatically got the city skin. And because I, pushed 30 million power, I get 6 little tokens here. And I'm going to use those tokens to get the adornment to give me additional 3% HP bypass, when I use the skin. So instead of the 10%, I will now have 13%. And so I go into the city skin and use the adornment, and now when I have it activated, I have that 13% HP bypass overall. The last thing, for all of you fortunate enough to have earned the legendary city skin, make sure you go into your reliquary, just click that button there, and activate that city skin. You go ahead and deactivate whatever, epic skin you have, and then you get an additional 1.5% Legion attack for having a legendary city skin active. All right, and like I said, that's all I got for you today. And until next time, you stay classy, Belleron.